That's what makes art interesting, is pointing out things to the world. Look at this beautiful thing. That's what we do. That's what artists do. That's our job. We point out beautiful things and say, stop, look. Mylar balloons are cool. They're almost like roses. They're as beautiful as roses. You can make them into roses, you know? But we just assume, not important. But if you can find the beauty in ordinary objects, then you become extraordinary. But we're usually too blind to see what's around us. So whose is this? Now watch. What were you thinking? You just wait for that. What were you thinking?
I'll never forget that first day.
What was I thinking? She actually she gave life to a Mylar balloon. And she made a story out of it, you know. She's punched, you know, and you know, kids are fascinating. If you want to know how to become an artist, follow a kid around. Because kids see wonder in everything. And for them, they could see Mylar balloons as real. In fact, if you ever watch kids, if a Mylar balloon or any balloon pops, they'll cry because it's almost like this thing has died. You know, it's like they have this, and they just have this wonder and awe, and they're, you know. So this is very childlike. It's like it wouldn't be hard for the child part of us to actually feel sympathy for the balloon and actually turn a happy face, which normally they are. Yeah. You can't buy a Mylar balloon with a sad face. No, you can't. You know. And yet she puts that twist in. See how artistically she's playing on that? And then, okay, so we have the energy of the central focal point. You know, it's that power, it's movement. Anything that moves becomes the central focal point because how we're wired. So if you're looking at a field of deer, you're not paying attention to the field. You see the deer. If you're looking out at something and something crosses your way, your brain will follow that. You'll forget looking at things. When you're driving and a car cuts you off, you no longer pay attention to anything. You're immediately paying attention to that car. Where is it going? Our brains are wired for that. So the movement of something like that coming into the painting, very powerful. That's a very awesome. You're just telling the viewer, this is my focal point. And yet, not only did you do that, but you also created the effect of light on that balloon, giving us that real shiny effect. And look at how close all of that is in here. You've created a central focal point that's so in tight. And the way that we're wired too, that no matter what is in your painting, if there's a human being or an animal, we focus in on the eyes. Eyes always become the central focal point, regardless over light or anything else. That's why artists purposely always bring the central focal point in a portrait somewhere in here, because it's really hard to compete with the eyes. So the central focal point is the eyes, the movement of the hand, how beautiful the lighting effect is on that balloon. Beautiful colors. I could tell it's a Mylar balloon. And then this movement of sadness makes us empathetic to the balloon itself. And so you brought empathy in the whole thing. This is great art with a stupid Mylar balloon.
I would love to, we probably have already done it, but I would love to hear and talk about selling work. And
how to price your paintings?
Yeah.
That will be one of our conversations. It's on my list of conversations. So selling your work. So make sure you stay in class and so that you don't miss that conversation. Yeah, they've had a little bit of that. You're newer in the class. But see, there you go. Out of like a request to do kind of a silly painting with Mylar balloons, we end up with a really incredible painting. And the thing is about Marilyn, have you ever seen Marilyn not swing hard? She swings hard. She doesn't just do the homework assignments ever. She's all out. She is all out. She's Barry Bonds at, 2 strikes, one last chance, And she doesn't paint to try to please me. She paints because her own level of excellence is high. Her standards are high. She plays all out. And have you seen her ever come here without homework assignments? Have you ever marveled about how wonderful she paints?
Yes, all the time.
Do you think that maybe she paints so well because she does so much?
Maybe.
Yeah.
She's really good.
Well, how did she get good? How do you get good at anything?
You have to press.
You practice. You practice, 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 practice. And see, most people would settle with one face. She's got 1, 2, 3, 4 faces. And the balloons.
It's amazing.
See this artistic creativity at work. So, what would be the center focal point in this painting?
Well, probably isn't any, but it's like the ribbons from the balloons are entwined in the hair, and the whole thing is sort of the center. I mean, what I had in mind didn't happen, so I'm not sure what people.
I think it's the white shirt, my face with the white shirt.
Well, is the white shirt a is that an effect or is it a thing?
Thing, but that's
So it's the lightest thing in the
I
painting.
think the ribbons in the center.
But
what
the
they're
girls
doing
are
is-
the focal point, because the girls are the focal point, the eyes, everything comes to my eyes.
Yeah, their faces. Okay, so what did I say about painting portraits? Because here we have 4 portraits, so the eyes have it. So eyes are your main focal point. The problem is where the brain works is that if you have 2 objects, like you have Jean with your grandson and the dog, if you're not careful, the viewer will go back and forth between the dog and and you lose them in the translation. So what we did was we calmed down the dog, closed the dog's eyes, took all that, and put all the detail into your grandson, and consequently, your grandson's the center focal point. By hard edges, by lighting effect, by the fact that we're wired to think about eyes being the central focal point. So what you've created here is a real interesting effect. The center focal point are the eyes, okay?
Well, I think it's just the configuration of the 4 of these kids.
You're getting ahead of me here. Don't stump the critiquer. But yeah, you're right. You're right. So what happens is that we look at one, and then our brain wants to look at another, and then our brain wants to look at another, and then our brain wants to look at another, and then we go back because we're constantly going around. So what she's done is that she's created this spiral, all focusing around the center area. So the effect that we could actually say is that she's created the effect of chaos by the feeling of it being in a swirl. And purposely, she's manipulating the viewer to feel a little bit out of control. When you see this painting, you almost feel like you're dizzy.
Yep.
And so the effect in this painting, which is extraordinary, and you don't probably even think about this unless you were painting it, but the final effect is the feeling of being disoriented. That's the effect. The viewer is feeling a little bit. And the thing is, what's really awesome is that's what they feel. They feel that. And so like you started saying, your central focal point was the spiral effect, and you absolutely nailed it. What even helps is the hands, even the patterns of the shirt bring us around, the balloons, and then all of this tied in here brings us in. And now, like you said, part of this central focal point are the strings. And we could probably say that because of the lights and shadow effects, but also we have nowhere else to go. She has left us no opportunity to leave this painting. And so it's extraordinary. Extraordinary. And see, with just using Mylar balloons as a central focal point or a subject matter to paint, we actually have really a couple of really exquisite paintings that would not have been painted had we had not gone out and swung. See, there's a lot of possibility when you do the homework assignment.
What's the next one?
The thing that I hear with what the thing that I hear from most people after we have the critiques, and most of you probably can relate to this once and periodically, is I really should have tried that one. I cut it off too early, right? See? Why didn't I do that this time? And you say it every week. You're like, oh God, why wasn't I? You didn't give any possibility, any thought. The idea didn't come to you.
Is it the same homework for the next week? Or?
No, we move on.
We're not gonna like it.